Okay, here we are. Leo Gang race recap with Connor Harvey and Jamie Tilbury. Jamie Tilbury has been Tracy Hanna's mechanic for how many years?
7.
7 seasons of Tracy Hanna. So he's got also a real good knowledge of the inside of downhill racing. We've lost Kurt McDonald today, but he'll be back. Maybe talking EWS at some point. But yeah.
2019 world fastest female mechanic.
Yeah, Jamie Tilbury. Got that one under your belt with Tracy in the end there.
A lot of hard work, but got it eventually.
Yeah.
Not mine. Her doing more her than me.
And then when she heard that you weren't going to carry on, then she just couldn't carry on without you, pretty much.
Well, that's it. That's the reason she retired. She said when I stopped, she stopped. So she stuck it out for a year and couldn't handle it. So
yeah, the best in the business.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll crack on with the women's category then for Lear Gang. We had, going off our fantasy leagues from yesterday, I had Valley Hall and Michaela Parton for my picks. What did you have, Connor?
I had Vera Woodman and Emily Siegenthaler.
And what, you've got a fantasy league team as well, Jeremy, don't you? What was your picks?
In the women there, I had Valley as well. Thought she'd be a pretty safe bet on home turf. And Frenchie, who didn't qualify, so unfortunately suffered a points deficit there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you think about the women's qualifying? Because they only get 15 spots. Do you think it should be at least 20? 15's pretty...
Yeah, it's quite limited. I think there was quite a few registered this week. I think there was a good up to 30, was there, or more?
I think there was just over 30, yeah.
Pre-qualified, so... yeah, I think it shows that there is a lot more out there willing to give it a go. So they should... It used to be 20, I think. So I think it'd be good to see more of them given a chance, because can be quite a step between the top end of the pack to the 10-15.
Yeah.
So maybe open it up a bit more and have a bit more opportunity.
Well, to start with a bit of a tangent, something that I've been thinking about is why, because they went from 80 men to 60 as well. Do you think it would make the sport better and more competitive if we actually had 100 men qualify and say 30 females? Obviously it'd make it a bigger day for the organisers, and I don't know how all that would work, but you've seen we missed out Blanky this weekend. We didn't get Conor Fearon. Dean Lucas wasn't in there, so there's 3 big names. And then with the women, a few got through, but Kiwi I was excited to see was Jess Blewett. And then she finished 19th, but definitely got good speed. But now, we don't get to see. I think she ended up having a crash in the woods, so we never get to see.
Yeah.
What could have been.
What could have been.
What potential they have, yeah.
And, if they'd only let through 5 more riders, we would have just seen a more competitive field, potentially, I think. So I'm excited to see how they go. But what do you reckon?
Yeah, I mean, it's good. It's always good to have more competitors, and it restricts, like those guys you mentioned, Connor, Blinky. They're not protected currently, so they're just kind of chasing themselves around. They can't get in. So how are they going to get in the next one? They ride conservatively now to try and qualify for the next one, maybe.
And it's fair to say there would be a contender for the overall as well.
Yeah, there's a handful of those guys that would be.
Yeah.
Connor's often top 10 overall, yeah.
And Dean Lucas as well has had some pretty damn good results.
Yeah, I think it's kind of a hard one because it kind of goes both ways. Like, if you have too many people, then obviously there's the time constraints with the Red Bull TV and what they show live, and also just getting through all the riders in the race day. And I guess probably with the men's field is pretty deep, but as we talked about before, the female, it drops off a bit faster. So like, if you've got someone on who's say like 20th in the girls, are probably not going to look as good as compared to who's first,
Yeah.
So like, it kind of then makes it not look as good. But if they're in there and racing, it gives them the opportunity to improve and get to that level.
Yeah.
And every race that you don't make it in is like, it kind of just kills your confidence. Like the year I raced World Cups, like I never qualified, and I was always like within about 10 spots of qualifying. And like, so every race you'd be like nervous because you knew you're like almost there, but not quite.
Yeah.
And you sort of didn't feel, and you see, I think, with a lot of guys, especially in elite, people that don't qualify for quite a while, and then they qualify, and they just take off
Yeah.
because it's just like a massive confidence booster. Like I think people that aren't qualifying, it's not necessarily always a fair representation of how good they actually are as a rider because it's such a head game. And like I'd say probably a pretty good example of that would have been Hugo Fricks Long.
Yeah.
And Val de Sol, when he qualified, like I think it was top, like maybe 4th or so, and it was even first. I can't remember, but like in a year it rained, and then now he's taken off and he's consistently there or thereabouts. And there's lots of other riders that's happened with as well. So I think that is a sort of a good reason to make that field, like maybe 20 old riders in the female and back to 80 in the guys. And I think juniors are cut down as well. There used to be 30 for juniors, and that's been cut down to
because in there it's
2.
When you watch a Supercross, they have the heat and then they have like a last chance qualifier. They don't just go straight to the main, and it's
Yeah.
we don't need to have 2 qualifications, but I think if you maybe just let through, because there's always, again, like you say, maybe if they didn't qualify, maybe they're not going to win the race. But at the same time, a puncture plays such a part now. You can't crash and qualify these days. It's so tight.
Yeah.
And even if it was a top 100, maybe if you got a puncture and you crashed, you're probably still not going to make the top 100. But that's how competitive it is. So it's a shame to see some. And
more opportunities for the privateers, I think, as well. Like, take for example, Kiwis or Aussies have worked their ass off all winter to try and get to these races, and they get over there, they miss out on the cut, and they don't get that opportunity to shine or to show what they can perform, what they can produce. So it's tough on that side. There's a lot of privateers that say the top 30 is made up of professionals. That's like half the field is already gone, maybe more than, and then they just giving the guys a chance to show what they've got, really. Yeah.
To keep going on a bit of a tangent before we go back to the women, would you, if Red Bull offered a pass that was, say, $50 subscription for the season, because they film the qualifying, don't they?
Yeah.
Do they?
They do.
Yeah.
So imagine if you could pay for a subscription and you could watch qualifying and watch every racer. Do you reckon that would, if there was a paid...
Watch that... watch outside of what's available on the live feed in the race.
Yeah, because it's fair enough. Like, you can't complain for what we get for free. Is wicked.
Yeah.
But I think I'd happily pay $50 for a season, or even maybe more. I don't know. But if you could get, like, I'm injured at the moment. I've got nothing else to do with my time but watch.
Kind of more of a behind the scenes.
More stuff. So I'd love to see qualifying and all the guys that are not in the top 20 that you're still interested to see. You see it with other sports. You get these like live passes which offer more benefits.
Yeah, I'd pay for it.
Yeah.
And do you think that would then, maybe all that money would be needed to allow Red Bull to do it, but at the same time, if there's more money being put into it through us, then maybe that would help the riders as well. Potentially, would it filter down?
Exposure for them.
At least exposure. If you could expose more riders through this sort of stuff, then they can, get more. Well, it might open up more opportunities for sponsors to.
Well, exactly. That's probably the biggest thing. That's probably the exposure, like the fact that if you're on the live feed, like it's a big thing. And I know, like, people, that's a good selling point for
teams,
for teams, and especially for like a rider that's protected. Now they changed that rule, so like if you're protected from the previous year, from being in the top 10, and you're protected for the whole year, then you automatically qualify. So as long as you're not injured, you're going to be on every live feed. So like you can have in a contract and say, well, I'm going to be on every live feed, so I can provide you this exposure at every race throughout the season, like guaranteed, pretty much, which is a really good selling point.
Yeah. So now that's my food for thought. Paid subscriptions and bigger qualifying fields. I think that would help improve the sport. For the privateers and.
For sure. Obviously, you don't want to be giving away your money for nothing, but I mean, it's a pretty good package already, and I feel like you have to pay money for other things that are not as good, so it's probably all right, eh?
Yeah. You might have to speak a bit closer to the computer.
Am I too far away, do you reckon?
Maybe. Yeah, should be right. All right, so that's that tangent.
Yeah.
The back to the women. So who did we started? We'd see the top 10 women isn't it, on the live feed?
Yeah.
So I don't really know.
10 were broadcast, yeah.
Michaela Pardon was first.
So she was the first
down,
one we saw.
Yeah. She was, solid enough, I reckon, eh?
I think it was.
Coming out on a good roll of confidence from last year here, I think.
Yeah, it was a good
Yeah.
watch. I think with the last year it was just a bit messy with the wood, whereas it looked like everyone was actually tackling it quite well.
Yeah. Yeah.
Still saw a few crashes, from top riders, but like Pom Pom. But Tiny Seagraves put down she didn't seem to make a mistake, but her time wasn't.
She was pretty untidy in the woods.
Yeah.
I sort of found like, I thought it seemed like the woods was obviously the key section, like I said the other day that
That's where the race was made, or won or lost.
Won and lost, yeah. I said the other day that the that section before the motorway is pretty crucial, which it is, but I think it looked like it had dried out pretty well and looked a bit easier to get through and carry good speed onto the motorway there. So definitely, there's a lot of people that were there or thereabouts before we got into the last woods and then dropped right off because of mistakes or crashes through there. I thought that both Valley, Tane, Miriam and Marine had like really good intensity in the bottom woods, and I feel like sort of carried that high intensity that they had up top into the bottom, and they all sort of had a lot of dabs and a lot of like little mistakes that just consistently lost them time. Valley was pretty good, but the other three definitely were a bit not so smooth. Whereas I thought Monica and Cammy were just super consistent. Like, I don't think they barely even dabbed. They were just like not as fast, but just like steady the whole way.
Yeah.
And
Just
it worked
they
pretty
both
well.
looked. You could see how maybe they've been riding together a lot, as
Yeah.
teammates, but they both looked super confident and not fast, obviously, but they kind of rode it very smartly. I think they kind of just chose their lines wisely and got through it rather than. I mean, there's always an element of risk, but they definitely were. I think it was a calculated run for both of them through the woods. Tidy.
Yeah, it was good to see Tracy on the live feed commentating as well with Rob.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah, it was good to see. She kind of expressed her nerves from a different side, which is she obviously like good friends with all these people, so she saw it differently for them. But yeah, I think she's glad not to be racing it. I remember speaking to her last year after Worlds, and probably one of the things that made her want to pack it up. Such a horrible, hard conditions. It's tough.
Have you guys been in touch with anyone over there racing? Connie, we're watching her on the screen right now. With Vera, what have you been talking to her?
Yeah, I had a wee chat to her the other day. She said because she ended up race here at Worlds, she got taken off in a chopper, had a big crash in qualies, and so she said she was a bit kind of got in her head a bit before qualies again this weekend, and because it was similar conditions, and had a pretty average run, just wasn't really feeling that great, and I would say her race run was also pretty average. Like the intensity was fairly low, and she had a crash that basically caught her front wheel on a route in the woods down the bottom, which kind of just looked like, what are you doing, kind of. So
Yeah.
I think she definitely needs to figure things out a bit for the next few races and try and up the intensity. But it's pretty hard. I mean, when you go into a race and you're not feeling confident, like it's such a big confidence thing. So it's pretty easy to understand why you wouldn't be feeling good. But I guess that's, these guys do get paid to perform, so you kind of got to try and perform, don't you? But
Yeah.
yeah,
That's one of
it's
those.
easier said than done.
Right. We had what was the top 5 in the end? We got the results in front of us.
Tane, 5th.
So Tani did end up in 5th.
Yeah.
She's on the screen now. So we just quickly touched on her run. Do you think has she been injured, or do you reckon she's had a good winter?
Yeah,
She didn't.
No, she's been pretty on and off season, I think. Well, I think she's been a bit injured, so struggling to get back up to speed and maybe confidence, but she's always one to not to count out. She's always a strong contender, but I think she's just getting the confidence back and getting up to speed a bit more. Race pace, I mean, you haven't raced, it's hard to put it all on the table, isn't it? Your first race back to see where everyone's at.
So do you think she's going to be one that we're going to see quite a big step up from as we go into the next round? Now she's got the first one under her belt.
Yeah, I think she's got that out the way and a bit of confidence, see where she's at against the others, and hopefully getting a bit more bike time and race speed.
Yeah, because the top
Yeah.
5, there wasn't much splitting them. It was quite a close race in the end, even between on the women's field. I think
It was
wasn't it?
about 8 seconds between.
Or was it 8 seconds?
I think.
Yeah, 8 or so between a lot of them, which is
But yeah, top 3 was 1.5 seconds, so it's pretty tight, and it's good because obviously, like kind of like we were talking before, there's usually a few more gaps in the women's field. So like top 3 in the second half, it's good tight racing.
Yeah. Do you think it's going to carry on like that? I kind of feel like we're going to see more tighter racing in the women's field as we go forward through this season and maybe through the next few years.
Yeah, I think so, and definitely on a track that's like if you got in the rain, it generally tends to, the
really divides them,
divides things
yeah.
a bit more. So obviously it wasn't raining, but that bottom was still pretty muddy. So if you got a dry course, then yeah, I'd say it's going to be pretty tight in both men's and women's.
We'll jump just straight through to Valley Hole as well. She was obviously pretty much on for the win until that last, one of the last corners.
Yeah, just was at the finish line and ahead before she was at the finish line and at the deck, basically. The old concentration laps. And she seemed pretty pissed, which is understandable. I would have been as well if that was me. But
I think she was quite good with her interview after, though. You know, she was obviously pretty devastated, but wasn't, didn't seem like
for
no
sure.
bad sportsman there.
And I quite like it actually when people like show a bit of emotion and she hit the bars and kicked the sign and stuff. I'm like, I think some people are like, oh, you should hold your emotions in and be professional, whatever. But I kind of like to see a bit of passion, to show that you actually are pissed off rather than hold it all in.
Yeah. So this was a local track. Do you think we're gonna see similar form to her for the rest of the season going forward? You've seen her coming up through the juniors. She's going to be straight to the top.
She said she's qualified first in every race that she's done, which is testament to her skill.
Yeah.
I think she's definitely one to contend with the elites now she's up there. It was a home track, but I don't think you can take that away from her. I mean, she's a really good rider. Competitive. You could tell her times in previous years have been competitive, and the juniors against women. Sometimes she even beat the women, the elite level. So maybe slightly different tracks or whatever. But I mean, in time, she's definitely a contender. She'll be up there with the top 5 regularly, I'd say, if not winning.
Do you think she could be the favourite to take the overall? If you had to say that, like, there's one favourite.
It's really hard to say. I mean, I was saying Marine the other day, and I mean, it's always hard with the first round. Like, I mean, you read a little bit into it, but I think you can't read too much into it. Like, I think some people are slow burners and some come out firing at the first round. So it's, I mean, it's only a 5-race series, but still, I think there's pretty good confidence. Like, even though she crashed, she knows that she was on a winning run. So
to get second with a crash is still...
It's impressive, yeah.
And it wasn't it was a pretty significant crash as well.
Yeah.
It wasn't like a
in
doubt.
terms of time lost, for
there was
sure.
a lot of time lost on that.
And that's all your speed right through the finish line. From there, you're losing. So
you wonder maybe being a younger rider, that's an experience thing. But as she's come through, I mean, she's obviously got a race head on her, but just going at race pace, carrying that speed, and I think she's obviously just gone a bit too fast off a drop, maybe overcooked it and couldn't make the corner. She's lost the front wheel over it, I think. Looks what it looked like. Couldn't really see from the angle.
Under the trees,
I think she just missed the rut and gone over it. But
Ben
obviously at race
Cathro's
pace, you've got that such a step up from riding pace, race pace, that maybe she's just carried a bit too much speed and not. You learn from your mistakes, I guess.
Yeah, Ben Cathro's got quite a good breakdown of it.
Oh yeah.
So I think it's pink bike now. So Ben Cathro's doing his vision and
from an alternative angle.
He gets right in the trees. He's up there straight after the race.
Yeah,
so he's.
He did he have footage of a crash, or he was actually just...
No, he didn't have the footage, but he went up and you see the track for what it is, and he breaks it down. And it's like, there's quite looks like there's a little rut, and then it loses all its support before the end as well.
Yeah, so she just washed out that. Yeah.
Yeah, well, Brooke had a goodie there as well. That was pretty fun, actually. I laughed at that.
Corner,
The old, and then jump back on and crash again. That was...
Yeah, a bit of frustration.
Yeah.
But he wore it well, didn't he? Towards the end?
Yeah.
I don't think you can take yourself too seriously.
And he was flying as well. So
he
it's
was,
good to see, But
obviously a tricky corner. You got to keep your wits off.
I think we'll just go to the winner as well, and Camille Blanche.
Yeah,
I was happy to see her back up the rainbow stripes because I don't know if I don't know if I would have said she would have before that run.
Yeah, no, I mean it's tricky, and she's a great rider, but I know her obviously from previously through the years, but she's always been one just to go riding to enjoy herself. She's competitive, but she's never been like I'm going out to win sort of thing. She just likes to have fun, and she's quite new to the sport, really, 2 or 3 years. So for her to be competing at that level, I think is quite a huge confidence boost for her, and she's enjoying it. But it's great, yeah, like you say, great to see her back it up in your last broadcast. Like, remember you talking about whether they can or can't, and you like some Morgan Shah, who they're not necessarily a one-hit wonder, but it's good to see that they can back it up. It wasn't a fluke, or it wasn't the conditions, it wasn't a...
And she rode last year. Well, was she the only person to actually make it through there without crashing?
Yeah, I'd say so, from what we saw, yeah.
And then this year, the bigger contenders, Pom Pom and Valley did crash, but I don't know. She rode. If Valley had said on, then she would have won. But I think for the other guys, it probably would have been quite questionable whether they would have held it down.
Up there,
yeah. Like Pom Pom would have been close, I guess, but
and Marin.
Yeah,
she had a bit of a moment, but yeah, I mean she.
But that's all.
Kept it clean, smart. It was just safe riding, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You got to ride to the conditions at the end of the day, so.
And she rode to them the best.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what wins your World Championships and World Cups.
And I think also that one thing that was pretty hectic. Old Marine through the motorway must have seen God off that first table.
Yeah.
Right, far out.
Yeah, she had to sit down after that.
A potential for a hugie there.
Yeah, there was a couple of guys, if they weren't taking that wooden boot, they would
just went to
send it to flat.
Yeah.
Do you think, because even, I think, jumping maybe a bit too far forward, but Danny was also, he went pretty deep off it as well. He didn't hit the wooden booter.
Yeah.
I was kind of surprised to see the...
kind of feel like I don't know if that's a bit of a speed killer or not. It's hard to say. Obviously, it's a long time in the air if you hit the kicker, but you kind of do want to try and catch him backside, I think, don't you? Ideally.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, there's a few guys missing that landing, and it's a pretty flat motorway. You got to try and carry your speed through there. So. Yeah.
Yeah. What do we think though? Overall, I think the women's racing was, for me, that was probably one of the more exciting women's races I've actually watched.
Yeah, definitely.
Is that fair to say?
Yeah.
I think partly the way that they all ride, I think a lot of them have been working on how they stand over the bike and into more of an attack position, and you can see that with how they end up riding the track. I think it's quite aggressive compared to maybe what we've seen in the past.
It's real physical, that Woods, obviously, so they've got a lot of upper body strength and just manoeuvrability, and a lot of the girls are quite small.
Yeah.
So it makes it, some might say it's harder, some easier to move yourself around, but you've got to be strong physically as well as mentally to get through that stuff. So, but no, it's good competitive mix of people up there.
See the tight times, and then what's Leger's the next round, and quite a bit different to this track. You went to that, I guess, the both of you. Mechanicking that last time you've.
Yeah, that's a good track. A bit more old school, just sort of flat out, flat corners, real high speed stuff. The track they used in those World Champs years ago, but yeah, that'd be a good one.
Got a new track. Are they going to use the track on the other side of the hill for that, or are they going to use the one on Monterey?
Oh, I've not heard. I just assumed it was Monterey side.
Because they did that race last year.
Oh, that in PV2? No.
Yeah, up at on the other side. So I thought maybe that they were going to use that track. I thought I heard somewhere, but I could be wrong.
I've not heard. No, I just assumed
which would be quite different, but
the original.
Yeah.
Don't know.
Yeah.
That looks like a good round. But would you say Pom Pom would be a favourite, being French going into that one, or
Pom Pom and Marin as well? I
Yeah.
think she's got redemption. That was the year Tracy won it, actually, the last time they raced there. And Marin was hungry for the win on home soil. So yeah, I think definitely Frenchie's home turf, always a good one. And Tane as well. It's kind of was a bit of a local for her. She grew up a lot in Morzine and Leger, the Alps there. So I think she'll be keen to do it for a sort of second home crowd. But yeah, I mean, there's a handful of people can take it. That'd be good.
it's sort of that track. It suits the aggression, like it's fast and you got to be pretty confident and push along. So I think the girls that you saw this weekend that were pushing and probably overriding the woods, like you really just got to crack on and go for it there because times are tight as well.
There we go. Here's Valley's
Really
crash. This looks like it drops away as well.
Yeah. Front wheel disappear.
Yeah. It wraps at the wind. Yeah, I'm excited to see how they keep going. If the time stay this tight, it's going to be quite a cool series to watch, I think. Then, moving on to the men, talking about the French. Well, he was in the hot seat for quite a while. Amaury Pirion put down a pretty smoking time
Yeah.
early on, but which was pretty impressive. Yeah. I'll just get it up to the...
Yeah, he was quick, and it's... I mean, expect him to be quick, but also it was good to see because it's been a while since... Like, he was injured last year, so it's been a while since he's been...
See him back, straight up to race pace, and
yeah.
I mean, he's always such an aggressive, impressive rider to watch. Like the way he handles that bike and the speed he can hold on to it at is unbelievable. Seeing him ride it is quite really eye-opening. But yeah, good to see him back. I think he broke his back or something, didn't he? Or some pretty significant injury.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I mean, to come back from that and then to put down a run like that at pace is impressive. Testament to his skills, really. Yeah.
Yeah, the live feed was pretty good. We got to see quite a bit of the track. Who did we start? Who was the first rider we saw again? Was it? We got Ben Wallace.
No, this is Marable, mate.
Oh God, I've gone for the wrong.
You're on the wrong one.
I've gone on the wrong one.
A couple of years ago, Marable.
Couple of years back. Technical problems here. I just saw men's DH final.
It was Laurie and Max Huddenston for first.
Quite fit, yeah. Because I was excited that you had Max on your team.
I did,
Is that right?
Yeah. He was not too bad. He was ended up, I think, 31st. So it's all right, solid. But I think it's hard to say for the men as well because it looked like it got. Well, Troy said on the interview at the end that it was super windy for him up the top. So I would imagine it probably started to dry a bit more in the woods. So I don't know if it progressively got a little bit better for the guys that came down later on, or if it actually just stayed pretty similar.
Yeah.
It's hard to say, and I think it's actually can definitely be a factor. In leaguing, like it does get quite windy and all that top section's in the open.
Yeah.
So like if you get a headwind on that motorway or a tailwind, like that can really change things.
Yeah, it looks pretty flat.
Yeah.
So you're not carrying speed,
Yeah.
you're not generating.
Yeah. And the wind often does change quite a bit over the course of a race. So there is that variable there, but I think like Laurie put a pretty impressive run in that was earlier on in the day. He sort of qualified a bit further back, and I guess being just a little bit conservative due to
Laurie's
not being protected.
Laurie's time through the woods stood for quite a while, didn't it?
Yeah, I thought it was just Reece Wilson was the one that pipped him after quite a while. Yeah, through the key section there. Yeah.
Yeah, so he can. Yes, that was. It seemed to be sector 6. Look, and that's where Murray seemed to have put a lot of time on people, even though Laurie was quicker through the wood section. That must have maybe started just after the where the Red Bull had their little timing sectors.
Yeah.
But yeah, his line. Do you see the line he did into the wood? So where do you think that sector 6 was? Just as you get initially in, because he kind of railed a bit of an inside, but then he did that. He aired into it.
Yeah.
Yeah, he fully jumped into that bridge, didn't he? Yeah.
And then when he was on the bridge as well, you see the pedal strokes he puts down. There were a couple of like real. They weren't just ticking his legs out.
Power strokes.
He was driving.
So I feel like that sector 6 must have been quite high in the woods there too.
Yeah, no, because most people kind of going outside and he just took that inside, bit further inside line, and it seemed like it kind of looks like that bridge almost goes uphill slightly.
Yeah,
around that turn, and that sort of set the tone, I felt, for a lot of people. Like, there was quite a few guys that would dab a foot or sort of slip around a bit coming in, and then they'd sort of lose their composure. Like, Greg was pretty shocking, like, just dabbed the whole way down through the trees and lost a shitload of time. But then the guys that just got around that turn nice, carry good speed, they sort of stayed relatively consistent through the whole woods. Jimmy?
Yeah, I think it's a confidence thing, and that sets the tone for how it's going to be. And like, you know, in your own riding, is like, as soon as you slip a pedal or something, like, oh, this is how it's going to be. You're already on the back foot. You're a bit tense. And you lock up a bit. So if you hit that right, you come in on that big rut, and people are railing on the outside. I think you came into that bridge a lot straighter, and you kind of got that flow a bit more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It seemed to be that section. If you were to, Amuri just carried that speed from that bridge and then all the way through. Didn't see. Oh, he had that. He did actually have a moment, didn't he? I think he had like a bit of a bobble, but it didn't seem to like stall him up. He managed to keep charging through it.
He definitely wasn't the smoothest through the woods, but he kind of had that mix of aggression and managed to sort of managing the mistakes, and it kind of worked pretty well.
But he kept that momentum going. It seemed to be, if you lost that momentum, there was no chance to get it back, because you couldn't put in a pedal stroke really in that woods.
Yeah,
it looked so slippy. If your foot come off,
it was pretty much just the only one really was Depreller really that took that where it goes. You go high, you go right and high, or left and into that right hand rut, and he had the stall there.
Yeah,
he was sort of the only one that really had a significant mistake in the woods and was able to still put in a result.
He had such a lead on the time though coming in. Whatever he'd done in the top section, he came in 3 seconds up.
I couldn't believe it when it was 3 seconds up.
In the first 2 splits or something already. Like,
like that. Came onto the motorway, he was 3 up.
Yeah.
Like I couldn't believe it.
Because Pellion wasn't the fastest at the top. Quite a few people were coming down faster than what he was. So I was expecting to actually just see somebody beat him in the woods, but it seemed to be every time it was that sector 6 was quite that dark red, which I think on the Red Bull it means that he'd made like 1.5 seconds up on everyone else. So that it was quite surprising he'd done that in a short section, but whatever he'd done there. But his top section wasn't the best, so I was actually surprised that no one could match him in the bottom until I guess the final guys, especially with Laurie Greenland's time being.
Yeah, I mean he like I said, he started off early and his time stood and all the way through, and he ended up, was he 7th I think overall? So whether track conditions did change or whatever, he held on to it. Yeah. From an early starter, he held his place. But yeah, Depreller and Armory, when you see them riding at speed, that bike's chatting around all over the place, and it's almost like you never know when they're gonna if they're gonna hold on to it, if they're meaning to ride, if they're that on the limit, or if that's just their style. But they both hold on to it, and the bike's just chattering away. They're just so physically strong and aggressive.
How long do you reckon they've had on that bike? Before that, they've kept it pretty under wraps until the first World Cup. I didn't have any hints of there being a. Yeah,
well, there was a few of those test sessions, and I think they've got a test track out in Andorra near HQ, and their bike was wrapped up in one of those. They did have a cover over it for a while at some of those media events, but I mean that
because both of them have come out flying on it.
Yeah,
which they would have on the old bike, I think, too. But
it's always evolving. I think they're always kind of maybe a season ahead of what they're producing. Maybe like the bike's always being developed alongside what's going on. Maybe But they've got a good team of engineers who's super smart and super passionate about it and real interested in it. So I think that's always like the forefront of technology. Those bikes.
Yeah.
From what I've heard as well, like you're touching on that, the facility that I've got there, I think it's just in Spain, and it's actually like a I think Enduro Moto place, and they've got a contract there, and they've gone and built a track. It's just for the common cell guys. So they've got that track that won't change too much, just for them to test on.
Yeah.
And no one else can go and ride it. So I say compared to the testing they would have previously done just in Valnord, that track's changing. Whereas if you've got a track that stays pretty much the same over years, you can really do super consistent testing, which is probably quite hard to do with mountain bike because obviously tracks evolve. Yeah. If you're motorsport on a sealed track that's not changing, then it's probably pretty easy to see the data and compare it and make changes, and you can quantify it pretty easily. So I think that's quite smart what they've done there.
Yeah, I didn't realise it was. I knew it was like specific to them, to the Commensal team, or Commensal riders. They've got a few teams now. I mean, they've got a lot of
Have they got four
like B teams or
quite
such,
big teams?
Yeah. Oh, more I'd say.
Is it more? Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
The
Muck-off.
Dorval team, the
Muck-off,
main
the main
Muck-off
team.
factory team,
100%. And then there's a Spanish one, Commensal 21 or something, and
Then Angel is Angel
I think
on
that's
that,
Angel,
isn't
and
it?
there's
Yeah.
some South African ones, and there's a lot. I mean, I wouldn't say spreading themselves thin because they're all definitely up there, but there's definitely a lot of. Well, it's the bike everyone wants to ride, isn't it? Like you look at all the privateers, or it's the go. Seems to go to. It's proven. Yeah.
We saw a few quite good lines as well from the guys. A few standout ones for me was that one we talked about with Amori jumping into the woods. Brooks jumped to the wall ride.
Yeah, it was one
Yeah.
of only a
I
few
think
did that.
I only saw him do
yeah.
it. But
Yeah.
there must have been
Yeah,
more, but
that's a huge
That's-
committed move. Like
a huge gap.
walking the track previously and seeing that, and you're like, what's
It's quite a long way from the lip to that wall as well,
Yeah.
longer than it looks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, then you get your bike in that position in the air as well, ready to hit the wall, I guess, which is pretty gnarly when
Yeah.
you're pretty
Yeah.
tired, and
Yeah.
Yeah, but you're flying down there. Yeah,
that's
Yeah.
a gnarly line. That's cool to see it. And
and
then
Deprella had a good one on that motorway.
Yeah.
Wanted
that was the one I was getting
whatever he
to.
did,
Yeah.
And that was huge.
Do you reckon that would have cost him a bit of time in the end? I don't know.
Well, he cased it, so I think
Yeah,
he's probably going to lose a bit of
didn't
momentum.
The
Eh?
best landing, did
I
it?
don't know if it was
Yeah.
the smoothest, the smartest option, but.
Do you think that's something he's maybe been eyeing up all week, or something he's already done?
Well, I think what he said in the interview that one of his team, his team manager, had done it previously. The Ruffin brothers, so one of those two.
Oh, really?
Oh.
So, I guess he maybe felt he could have a crack at it, but yeah, I personally probably would have kept my wheels on the ground there. But
Yeah.
maybe if he'd have backsided it, it would have been okay. But risk versus reward probably wasn't quite there.
Marin had a big one, didn't she? She did a triple in that motorway section as well, I think.
Oh, I
Marin.
think I saw
Yeah.
pull up or something. Yeah.
She's a really strong, confident jumper. Actually, I remember she did a huge one in snowshoe. Some of the other girls weren't doing, but she got a
just
big
before
pull.
the finish
Yeah.
line. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the other one I quite like was before the stumps for the motorway. There was Benoit Calanges and Troy. I think did it. They sort of gapped some roots around that right hand and then stepped down out,
Yeah.
and that looked quite fast as well. Yeah,
Right. I was thinking we'll rattle through our fantasy league teams as well for the men.
yeah.
So we had Bernard Kerr. I think was quite on a few people's lists.
Yeah, I had him as
And-
well, yeah.
Do you think he was sore because he obviously had that quite big crash in that Vital Raw video? And
Yeah.
I think they were saying he was a bit bruised up from that.
Yeah.
Or do you think it was just just one of the race things where you just don't quite go as good as you wanted to?
Hard to say, isn't it? I mean, he got 16th, so it's still a really good result. But
yeah.
I mean, you take a big tumble, and sometimes in a race, you by yourself, like you get the adrenaline pumping, you feel fine, but sometimes you actually, you are actually still feeling pretty sore and stiff, and you're just not riding to your potential. So it's hard to say, really, isn't it? But
He does go well here, though, and he's had a few good results.
Yeah.
Podium
Yeah.
there, yeah. I mean, he was up. He had pretty good first few splits. He was up there, but yeah, maybe.
Pretty tough. I
Fast
think if you
pace,
lose it in
yeah.
that woods again, though, that seemed to be like a pretty deciding factor for who's got there. These pedals, yeah. So we're just watching the screen there with Amori's run now. There we see he's watched the front, but he kind of kept his
so he
speed.
just held on to it. It's this pure strength and knowing what your bike's doing.
Mm. Yeah, back to Bernie. I think he's gonna be pretty good though for the rest
He'll
of
be
the
good.
season.
He's got incredible talent. He's an amazing bike handler. You see
Yeah.
all the videos he puts out and stuff, and his motorbike, mountain bike, dirt jump. He's a really talented rider.
Yeah.
I'm interested to see how well he can go.
Yeah.
He's obviously got the talent.
I'd like to see him get some good results, especially if he's thinking about rolling it in. It's good to see people go out on a high rather than just kind of fizzle out.
Are you thinking of packing it in, is he?
I think he was. Yeah, I think he
Oh,
said
yeah.
in a few interviews. Yeah, I think he's been quite open with. I think he just wants to concentrate more on just the managing.
Just running the team.
Yeah, on
I mean,
running the
it's
team,
a
yeah.
huge job to run the team and ride and keep everyone happy. So,
Yeah.
Yeah, fair enough.
So I've not
Fair play.
heard anything through. Anyone
Maybe he's going to go
personally.
back to that Supercross career he dabbled in.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
you should come to Auckland and do Supercross there maybe first. We'll see, but good on him for going straight in the big leagues.
It's hard to say, isn't it? Like, is he just taking the piss a bit and creating a bit of hype, or is he actually keen to pull the pin?
Oh, I think that all
Yeah.
started off with a bit of, maybe a bit of a joke.
Tongue-in-cheek, yeah.
But he's got the.
Yeah.
I think that was incredible what he did with that whole Supercross campaign he went for, because for everyone it was really a win-win. He got.
Sorry, I more meant him retiring as opposed to Supercross.
Oh, sorry.
But yeah, no, Supercross was awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought to say it maybe at a drunk bet and then to actually
To go through
2 or
it,
3
yeah.
years later
Yeah.
get
Yeah.
the sponsorship, and his
Yeah.
riding was pretty. I don't think. Yeah, you look at the guys he's up against, and there was not
He wouldn't have made the night show, I don't think. But
a chance. But to have that opportunity and go through that must be a
Mm.
pretty. I don't think he's going to ever regret making that
and
decision
just
for
the
his
people
life.
we
Stuff
would
out
have
there,
met
yeah.
in good context and stuff. It's
Yeah.
pretty cool. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd love to see him keep pushing it, and just see if somebody could make the transition. You've seen guys
Gone
make the
the other way,
transition
haven't
to
they?
mountain biking. Yeah, it'd be cool to
wind
see.
going through. Yeah.
Just follow somebody's story going the other way. But no, it was quite fun to watch that. So that was cool for Benny to do that. I had Joe Breeden as well on my team. I don't know how he ended up actually. I didn't see him on the live feed. And
He got 30th.
30th.
He was, I think, about 4th at the first split. It was sort of pretty good first 2 splits and then faded away. He said he made a few mistakes and just didn't ride as tight as he would have liked to up in the bottom woods. And as we saw with everyone else, that was a good way to screw up your day.
Yeah. David Trummer, he was the Austrian local. He qualified well, and then where did
He ended up
yeah.
19th. So
Ended up 19th.
I was-
So good finish as well.
But I sort of, after second at Worlds, and he's Austrian himself, he lives a wee way away from Leogang, but still having done well there in the past, kind of expect.
He's kind of been under the radar for a while, I think, hasn't he, David Trummer?
Yeah.
He kind of come up as a privateer and got helped out, and now he's up there. He's been around for a while, I think. Always knocking on the door. It's good to see he's actually up there.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean it's still a good result. 19th is 5 seconds back. It's so tight. A few wee mistakes and you're done. Someone I was quite impressed with was Phil Atwell actually. He was right up there first 2 splits.
Yeah.
And then just he was one of the most exciting riders I think in the bottom woods.
Yeah.
He was just typical Phil, jumping around and pretty loose, but he lost a heap of time down there. But a lot of those guys were on a top 5 time in the top sector and then just dropped away. So there's once again probably not a full representation of people's speed and potential to do well at other races.
We have obviously got Tabal as well on my team, but
Yep.
we'll talk about your guys' teams, I guess, before we touch on him, because he had a pretty...
Yeah, storming run.
Yeah, so you had... Start with your team, Connor.
I had Breeden as well, and
Was it
Max Hardenstone, who we talked about briefly before. But I mean, they both had solid results. I think they won after each other actually, 30 and 31. And then Tebow. That was super impressive, and talked about it the other night, saying that he did really well last year, first year elite, and basically straight onto the podium, and was very close to winning again today. The run reminded me a lot of Perron in 2018 when he just was on fire, elevated the level of riding and across the whole field, I think, and almost one of those things we've sort of seen throughout the years. You've had your Hills, your Petey's, Minar. They'll be dominant, lift the level, Gwyn, and I feel like Perron sort of lifted that level a
Yeah.
bit again.
Yep.
Yeah, he kind of took
like
over that year, didn't he?
Putting
18?
in margins that hadn't been done for a while into second place. So I'll be interested to see what DePella can do this season, actually, if he stays injury free.
Yeah.
It'll be an interesting fight between those two, actually, because, I mean, DePella just coming up from junior, but again, like Valley, he was always competitive in the men's field with his times, but
Yeah.
him and Armory being so teammates, but also now going to be such rivals to each other.
Yeah.
They're going to help each other. They're going to push each other a lot more. Like all the Frenchies, your Vergiers, Bruni, and that, they're real good buddies, but when it comes to the track, I mean, they let their ride and do their talking, and they all push each other so hard.
Have we seen that dynamic before? Where we've had two teammates that have been, like, obviously we've had...
Syndicate guys,
Like
I mean,
Syndicate,
Greg
yeah,
Loris and
good
Luca,
example,
they've
they're
all sort of
all-
had their close rivalries like that. Back on Einhorse and Specialised, Brendan and
Hell,
Sam
Yeah.
and Brosnan sort of come along and push that along a bit as well.
I feel with those, I agree, but I always feel when with your Sam and Brendan, Sam was still...
He was way better. Well, not way better, but
He was
better.
well,
Yeah.
Brendan could
Yeah.
still beat him, but Sam was the rider. I feel with... Well, Lucas Shaw had some pretty outstanding... He won a few qualifying,
That
but...
season, yeah, he was real. He was close for a while, but just couldn't quite make it in a race run, could he?
But yeah, out
Yeah.
of those three, I don't know. I would, yeah, that was probably pretty close. I guess what the Syndicate guys had, that would be pretty close. But yeah, now I don't know between Amurian and Thibault.
Yeah.
Is that how
Yeah.
do I even say his name?
Thibault.
Thibault.
Thibault de Prada, yeah. And then there was Bruni and Loris when they're on.
Yeah, that's a
Lapierre
good one.
back in the
And then
day,
you saw
yeah.
them part ways.
Yeah.
They didn't really last very long when it
I
started
mean,
getting quite.
they grew up as kids together, like riding the same tracks and stuff at home, so you can see how they're such similar competitors. You spend so much time together.
Yeah, we
Good
said
best
this
bud.
before we started as well. So Loris left Bruni. Maybe was that because they were getting a bit too close to each other, and then now you've seen Loris leave the Syndicate. Do you think
Yeah.
that it could be maybe a similar reason there?
Yeah,
Wanting to be the top.
Yeah,
that kind
and
of
then you've
pecking
joined.
order.
Yeah, he's joined
it's-
a team with a world champion, so it's maybe
Yeah, is he going?
a risky move if you wanted to be like the A rider on the team. But
Yeah, I mean, from different teams, you think the A rider does get. I mean, you get the first choice of. You're the most looked after, obviously, only you're number one, so you do get the pick of the crop. But I mean, I think budgets and everything this year, everyone you'd like to think on a team you're treated equally. I don't know, but there is obviously that rivalry, and you work with your teammates, so I think that they help each other. I mean, like Mick is a good example. A bit biased, I guess, because I've worked with him, but he would take on anyone new to the team under his wing and really usher them along and bring out their talent and help them, like share lines, share his experiences and what he can do to help them along. Like, and you can see that now with Joe. You look a lot of their times in practice or in qualifying, they can be real similar sometimes,
yeah,
and you see that when you ride together. But yeah, I think with Vergier, I think he's definitely a potential. He's a very talented rider, potential winner. You just gotta.
not get punctures.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, he was again. I think everyone's when I've been listening to things, I think he was the number one favourite
Yeah.
from a
everyone's
lot of
calling him.
people.
Yeah.
And yeah, we never got to see what he could have done because he got that puncture quite early on in his run. So who knows what that would have been.
What tyres is that? Bontrager, is it?
Bontrager,
Yeah,
probably.
Bontrager's,
Yeah.
Yeah, and well, he got a DNF because he must have pulled off
I
and
would have gone outside the
gone
tape.
out the tape. So I didn't see he would have still gone through at least a couple of splits, if
I
not
got it before the
first. Did
woods, before the hall of the
Yeah.
woods.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
he would have at least gone through a split, but I haven't seen a time there, so it's hard to say
Yeah.
where he was at. But
Yeah.
it's not on the results
Oh, true. Yeah.
because it's DNF. But yeah,
That's downhill racing.
Indeed.
One shot.
Yeah.
That's
Indeed.
it.
But good that was the only mechanical.
well, that's what happened to him at his last race, wasn't it? Well,
Maribor.
and
Yeah.
well,
Work
no,
decided.
loser, didn't he? Got flat,
right.
didn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Portugal what decided the overall.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
a bit of a bugger to see it again. And touching on the overall as well, I mean, Matt Walker probably a bit of
Had better days at the office.
underwhelming performance for
So 20 is in the 20s.
25th.
Yeah.
So he was going right up top, But yeah, dropped right off through the woods. He looked pretty good in the woods, and I was surprised how much he lost. Like, it wasn't heaps of mistakes and stuff, but obviously he just wasn't pushing on hard enough. And yeah, so
It was quite
probably-
deceiving, I think, how fast Amori got through that section.
yeah,
For sure. Yeah, there was a lot of
Yeah.
people that I thought were going to pip him, and then it wouldn't make a difference. I've got a dog. Who else was on your team? Well, we had a pretty similar team after that.
that was the three. Isn't only three guys that you have?
Yeah.
I think it was me. Yeah.
And then Jamie, you had
Yeah, I had-
a couple of different ones as well. too.
Yeah, Bernard, Joe Breeden, went for Mick. Got a bit of a soft spot being teammates with him, and I've seen him do well at Leo Gang before. I mean, a couple of times he's podiumed there when I've been with the team, so can never count him out. Definitely one of the older, more experienced guys, but can definitely pull one out the bag. So kind of went with him, and he ended up 37th, pretty solid for him. It's kind of where he's at these days.
Yeah.
But yeah, good for him. Always a crowd pleaser. I think
Mm.
you see him at the end, and he's always happy. Always does what he does. And Greg as well. Greg Minar,
Yeah.
again, just the goat. Similar age, he always does well anywhere.
Was it
So-
this race when he won qualifying a couple of years ago? Because he didn't. It was a year when he didn't qualify for Maribor,
Yeah.
and then was he second, or did he actually win the qualifying at the following race? He backed himself right back
Greg?
up. Yeah.
Greg.
Was Fort William was
Following race
the
was the
following
following,
race.
He-
Am I getting
Oh.
my wires crossed?
I can't.
But he's just a guy. You can't rule him
Yeah.
out anywhere, really.
Yeah, I mean,
It
just
doesn't
going
seem to
from
matter
not
what track
qualifying
it is.
one week and then coming back and pulling that out. I think that year he was up there in the overall as well, I think, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Contending for it. But yeah, I mean, you can never count him out, and I've grew up watching him ride a bike and always back him. He's always like kind of a confident, a safe bet that he's going to do pretty well. So yeah, I mean, good day for him too. 12th,
Yeah.
pretty impressive. He's turning 40 at the end of this year. I mean, I'd be stoked to be riding the bike at all, let alone
Yeah.
let alone
Competing.
competitively on the world stage. So
Yeah. Key
But
word
him
to
and Mick,
competitive.
yeah, him and Mick, same age, and made a full career out of it. I guess they don't know any different, so stick at it and keep going.
It's good.
Yeah,
And I think it's pretty cool to see that they've both just maintained that level, you know? Like, I don't know, maybe some people see something like Mick say like 37th, but they don't think that's that good, but like, I mean, it's really, really good still. And likes of Petey, who sort of dropped off a bit towards the end of his career, but obviously you don't know behind the scenes if he'd stopped training and sort of backed things down a bit and started cruising. But yeah, it's pretty impressive to see them sustain that for
I think
so long.
When we say 35th, yeah, there's 34 other guys, but you might only be 5 seconds behind
yeah.
them.
I mean,
So yeah, there's
exactly.
all these guys in front, but what you're talking between you and those other few riders is a slip pedal, and that could be 10
Yeah.
positions right there, you know.
Yeah,
So
and I mean, you look at the young guns coming through. Say Thibaut Drapella, he'll be what, 20?
Yeah,
I mean,
probably not
19,
even 19 because
yeah.
last year was
Yeah.
his first year, so,
So
19
I
probably,
mean,
yeah.
Greg and Mick are
19,
like
20.
double the guy's age,
yeah,
and they're still competing with someone like at that level.
Yeah.
It's good. It's good for the sport as well. You can see there's that. You've got that diversity in the mix of characters, people, ages.
What? So we just quickly touched on it. It was a good race because there was not many mechanicals. You guys both being on the mechanic background to this. Is this a track where we tend to see many normally, or from memory, it's not normally too bad 'cause it's quite a
No.
smooth track.
Not really. Well, I mean, we see Gwyn snap his chain out the start gate, but I mean, that's just riders being rough on the gear.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
I guess I reckon the main thing is probably just the hard pack. If you hit a corner hard or whatever, you got the potential of blowing a tyre off.
yeah. I don't think you're not
But-
puncturing a tire, are you?
No.
You're separating it from the rim, which
Yeah.
you'd think of this. I mean, we did different things. There is ways to try and avoid that. I mean, you look at the style of riders these days; they're squaring off corners and really shrouping them. We used to glue tires to the rim at times, and like to try and prevent that.
Oh yeah.
Like save you burping, and then if you did burp, at least it stays on the rim, like you're not
Yeah.
riding down on the rim with the tire flopping around, sort of thing. And there's inserts of that, but yeah, gluing them on was, I think there's a
Have you guys
Apart from
found
that.
that working with the components have been made to deal more with this sort of demand, like this punishment from the riders, because to make them more reliable, or does it just seem because when things get lighter, you assume it gets kind of weaker?
I think rims have definitely got better, and with tyres, like you got your companies definitely play around with compounds and trying to make them a bit more resistant to punches and sidewall stability, and in terms of it, bead being warped or the tyre getting the minimising the effect of it rolling and stuff when you had to turn hard, and then obviously you got inserts as well, which I think are probably, some people don't like them, but I think there's definitely a place for them.
Yeah,
and definitely. I mean, and also like I think a lot of stuff, bikes going carbon now. You got a carbon mainframe, carbon triangle, carbon rim. That's all so stiff, like, and you're putting those forces through a corner. The first thing that's going to give is your rubber. That's just going to peel off straight away, sort of thing. So maybe with an alloy rim, you've got a bit more flex, a bit more deflection. You can, I mean, it's not massive, but there is some give. Carbon's just so stiff.
But no,
you don't know. Yeah.
Another thing we didn't see. Well, we saw a few crashes, I think, in the woods, but not too many injuries. But probably the notable one from the weekend was Flo's popped ball sack.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess it's not really much of a talking point, but
no, but
pretty horrifying thing to come down.
Well, rider's worst nightmare, isn't it? It's like it's all hanging out down there. It's pretty unfortunate for him.
That would have not been a nice thing to get down at the bottom with. But he says he rode down, and then it was at the bottom when he actually noticed that his balls were not
literally
inside.
It's all hanging out.
Yeah.
That's uncomfortable to think about, really.
But it looks like he's had surgery and it's all stitched
up, and
the boys are back home.
Yeah.
So hopefully he's all right and can
take it for a test run and make sure everything's working right,
and be like back riding for the next round.
2 peas in the pod.
It was one of the well, I think he's Brazilian but lives in the UK.
Oh yeah,
the Vieira boys had a hugie in qualifying and I think broke a few ribs and his neck as well. So I think he's going to have surgery on that. But I don't know. I haven't seen too much more than that. So
I think that goes back to like helping out to those privateers and getting the getting exposure for them. I mean, I know those 2 boys, Roger and Douglas. They've been
Polygon
at it
boys
for years. Yeah, they used to ride on Polygon, so it kind of helped them a bit around. But yeah, they're striving week in, week out to race and not make a living out of it, and it's a full passion. They've both got full-time jobs at home, but they want to get up there and they're stoked when they qualify.
Yeah.
I mean, it's such a big deal to qualify and be up there competing with your idols. But yeah, so I guess they're pushing it and they want to be up there, so it's hard. So yeah, that's where it gives you likes of do you need more, open up more places to race so these guys get the opportunity.
Changing, how do you? I think it's quite good that we've been on the same tracks, but the EWS is like an A and a B year, where they change. Where they would normally go, was it South American? Actually, next year they got a huge one, but
it's
like
massive.
The last few years they seemed to they would start in Chile, wouldn't they? One year, and then the other year they would start over here or in Australia.
Yeah, they have like this side of the southern hemisphere or that side.
And I think that seemed to be quite a cool idea for helping people get to the races.
Yeah, having different spots. So different opportunities. I mean, like again, privateers, it's a huge expense to come from this side of the world to get over there, and that's where the bulk of the races are. Look at even the downhill, its majority is Europe. It's a European. It's the World Cup, but I mean, 70 to 90% of the races are in Europe.
Yeah.
So the likes of last year when there was a short season, those European races, they can drive to the place. I mean, you've got to travel for 2 days for us to get there, and then you've got to recover from the jet lag, and it's just a whole different ball game for some people. So having those EWSs in different regions is good. Next year there's a couple in Tasmania and then up in Nelson over here. So
it could be good because that's another option. If you don't have that B and an A year, having a longer series without the expectation of people making all of them apart from the factory teams.
Yeah.
But then it gives a privateer a chance to. He knows he doesn't have to travel to Europe. He knows he can just stay home. But if he can get 3 rounds at home and have a good crack, then he might get exposed to a team that
Previously.
can let him
Yeah.
afford to travel to the rest, maybe.
Yeah, it's a hard one. I mean, I don't know what goes on behind the scenes with that, but it's definitely, I think, a lot to do with, obviously there's awesome tracks, but all around the world, but it's up to a venue to want to hold an event,
Yeah.
and it seems like there's more places around the world that are keen to run the EWS, and I'm not sure how that all works financially and stuff, but it seems like Chris Ball's pretty keen to make the series a World Series,
The World Series,
Yeah.
and change up venues, not go back to the same place over and over and over.
Yeah, I
And
mean,
they've done a pretty good job at doing that.
They've had a lot of the series is relatively new, but they've had a heap more variation in locations than
Yeah.
the World Cup goes back to. There's the staple, the Monson Anns, the Leo Gang, Fort William. There's a few new ones coming through here and there, but
Yeah.
it kind of is a bit the same places each year. Does that get a bit stale for the guys?
I
don't
think.
know. I mean, the Leo Gang, I remember first few years there, everyone slated it. It was bike park, like full high speed, hard pack, and now the track looks like this. So places do evolve. It's a different place. And there was that year Phil Atwell thought he could ride it on his hardtail, didn't he? And
Yeah.
he did a practice run, but
Yeah.
you wouldn't catch him getting down this on his dirt jump bike, I don't think.
No. But yeah, it's a tough one, isn't it? I mean, you go, especially Fort William and St Anne's been. Fort William doesn't really change at
Yeah.
all. I mean, very small changes in the woods, obviously, but I think they're just cool places to race and they're cool atmosphere. Like, I don't think you can really beat the crowds in Fort William. France is pretty good, like Leger or anywhere in France. They just come in their droves. I remember, you remember Lebresse a couple of years
Lebresse
ago.
was
Like, it was a
huge as
shit day, pissing down, and there's just more people than
Yeah.
you could imagine there, which
Yeah,
is cool.
great.
Like, and that's the thing. It's probably more of a spectator sport, so you kind of got to go to places where you're going to sell tickets and there's going to be heaps of people there
And I think the venue has to front up. It's a fair sum to
to run the
volunteer
event.
to have the event. Like,
Yeah.
you've got to pay, even just to apply to have it, sort of thing. So the resort's got to have the money and the backing. But yeah, I mean, it's again, yeah. So like Chris Ball's doing, yeah, it's good to see all these different places, exposure for those places, and EWS is more what Mr. A and B and Joe Public can do though. Like everyone can go,
Yeah.
everyone can go and buy that EWS bike off the shelf. Sort of thing.
Yeah.
It's more relatable to the public.
Mm-hmm.
This is kind of the Formula One, like they're racing prototype bikes or high-end stuff that maybe you can get some of it you can't. So I think it's a bit comparable, but quite a different sport. Like definitely this is the high end. This is the creme de la creme. I'd say you watch it, you can aspire to be it. Yeah. Hey.
No, it is. And what I was going to touch on with Flo's ball sack is that we actually have got
You
quite
want to touch it?
we've got quite a strong field this year as well. Like there's nobody, we're not missing anyone due to injury. Gwyn's back this year. Well, he was back last year, but he's kind of had a few funny years.
I was going to say, if Gwyn, like,
Yeah.
when do you reckon it's time to hit the panic button on Gwyn and start to get a bit worried about him?
In what respect?
Yeah,
With his
Well,
results?
in terms of results,
Where
yeah.
was he this week?
He was back in maybe in the early 20s, late teens.
22.
Yeah.
He's not the fastest American anymore.
No,
Dakota.
the boys, yeah.
But yeah, Charlie Harrison. Where was he?
Was he injured?
Is he injured?
Was he might be? Or
He
did
was
he just
there.
not qualify?
Was it, not qualify or did he ring his bell as well? Had a crash in.
There was someone that crashed this morning. There was Nina, that crashed.
Nina didn't start yet.
That crashed
Matt
before the
Walker.
race.
He dislocated his shoulder. No, yeah, Charlie
yeah.
Harrison. But yeah, Gwyn. Don't know. He's always a bit of hype around him and
Yeah.
big budgets.
Yeah.
Fair enough. He created a name for himself for sure.
I don't think you can ever. I'm not willing to rule him out for a little while yet. I
No.
feel like he seems to have had a few injuries,
Mm.
and I think that we could see. I don't know if we're going to see his domination again. Just looking at the other talent now that is coming through, I don't know if. I don't think we can see Gwyn dominate again, but I think we could see him win a race
He'll
for
be
sure.
competitive. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
even if he has been a bit quiet, but I think one of the more standout rides for me was Eddie Masters. I think this.
Yeah,
this
he
weekend.
did it good. Yeah.
I was pretty stoked. Sent him a message this morning, and I think he seemed pretty chuffed as well with his whole weekend and how it
Good one in
lined
the
out.
wet, isn't he? Yeah. Just in general, but he often does pull one out the bag when it in there's horrible conditions.
Well, he's a guy now. He's a bit older than most of the guys that are out there, and seems to be probably reaching. Not maybe I don't want to say reaching his prime, but he seems to be riding faster than what he ever has.
Yeah.
I think, especially like on the downhill side, like he's done on the enduro and kind of backing up the speed on the downhill side, which is pretty exciting to watch. I think.
Real talented guy, but yeah, I mean, a lot of time on the bike this season. I mean, we see him a lot around here, obviously, but yeah, he does a lot of riding, eh?
It brings a lot of personality though. To you look at the other people in that top 20, and everyone's cool, but Eddie's personality, even if he wasn't a mountain biker, would prove
character to it.
Character in whatever he did. So to see that in such a, like you say, this is the F1 of the sports, and he brings this pretty awesome personality.
He's always
backs up the
kind
results.
of joking, relaxed. I can never see him stressed out about much, really. Yeah. He's always got a story to tell, and he's always having a good time. All those boys, actually, like the Van Zacks and all that crew, they're always living life to its fullest.
Yeah.
And he did ride himself off pretty well actually at national champs this year. So he's
true.
He has done well to come in, and he's 11th, but
pretty much 7 bones he broke
on the edge of the top 10.
First race back, wasn't it?
Yeah,
first timed race.
Yeah,
timed run.
They seem to recover from it relatively well, from what I've heard. But it's still, a lot of people take a bit longer to build back up after an injury. So
No, that was my standout ride of the weekend.
I was pretty impressed actually as well with probably you never even heard of him, but Ronan Dunn, Irish lad, he made it on the live feed as well in his first Elite World Cup, just on a wee Irish team, Continental Newtproof, and he was top 30, which I think is impressive for your first Elite World Cup.
Really?
And I don't think he's done a whole lot of junior racing either, so that's pretty good, eh?
Yeah.
I was impressed with that.
I did see his second name, but I didn't know who he was. But yeah.
He's on a team with Chris Cumming, the guy that I used to mechanic for, one of the guys I used to mechanic for, so yeah. I thought that was good.
Before we go to Troy Brosnan, we've got, who I think we'll wrap up with. We had Danny's, we'll talk maybe a bit more about Thibaut's run, but Danny
Hart.
Yeah. It was good.
He finished what?
Sixth
in the end.
Just outside the podium.
Yeah.
Flying first 2 splits, he was up. And in the steep in the woods, but not a massive mistake, I don't think.
Just tight times. But pretty consistent. So, but new bike this year, obviously working quite well for him to come straight out with a pretty top result.
Yeah.
Confidence high.
Looks like he's wearing a basketball jersey as well.
Yeah.
When he's going down.
New style.
Yeah. But it'll be cool to see if he can just keep this momentum.
Very talented guy, yeah. It'd be good to see him back up there. I mean, favours these rougher, steeper, nastier tracks in these conditions, so prove himself again. But hopefully he's consistent, competitive and consistent. Yeah.
And also, like when he came down before Troy, like the top 5 was like, it was a second between them.
Oh yeah.
And then it was just Troy that put a margin in and pushed it out, but like that's tight, eh? I can't remember the last time seeing it at that close.
Well, let's talk about T-Bone's run then.
Troy's or T-Bone?
No, T-Bone's first.
Yeah.
Because we did touch on it a bit already, but that was just without that little stall up, to me that was the best run of the weekend.
Flying.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like Troy won, and that at the end of the day you've got to get to the bottom without mistakes, but I was expecting some pretty good things from that 3 seconds in that top bit.
Yeah.
If if that's where the race ended, and he would have ended up with because Troy was a second and a half down on him. Coming into that section, something like that.
It's a short space of time to put that margin into. I mean, who did he come? Who was in the hot?
It was Amori.
He's not.
And Amori didn't have the best top, but there was a lot of people coming in maybe half a second to 0.8 faster than Amori. So he would have still put in a couple of seconds on pretty much anyone else through there.
Yeah.
Which
Hauling.
is
I mean, impressive.
insane.
Characteristic of Armory's running Leger that year is just like flat out on the edge, just going for it. And again, just full of confidence. Maybe it's the bike. I mean, they do a lot of work, but yeah, strong, physical.
And then you saw him come into the woods and he smashed off that stump.
Yeah,
And
that was hectic.
I thought that was run over, but just powered on through it. And then
do you reckon he was trying to gap that, or?
I don't know. I could try to see if we can find his run.
It's kind of it was hard to see. Like if he got offline, it's like oh shit. Or
Where
he was
did
actually
he
gapping
qualify
it.
again?
It was third.
Top is in top 5.
Top
isn't it?
5.
Yeah.
Let's see if I can find his run so we can
Yeah,
have a look. But yeah, he was.
did have that stall in that right-hander, didn't he? And he thought it was all over, but he pulled that back.
And yeah, when did he? What was his? He ended up coming in just was it over a second still faster than Emery?
No, it wasn't quite a second.
no.
Like it was point
It was
4
200
or something. I think.
yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was bloody impressive.
The other thing actually I was going to touch on, which I thought was reminded me of a bit of a story. I was in 2016, after qualifying in leaguing, I hadn't qualified, and there was me and a few other Kiwi guys, and we were at the cafe / supermarket at the bottom, and Dak Norton was there, and he got 8th today. No, sorry, 9th today, and he's pretty stereotypical American, pretty animated, and loves yarning away, and he was like, he was gutted. He's like, man, I suck. Like, in America, I'm one of the boys, and then I come to Europe and I get smoked. Fort William, I didn't qualify, and he washed out on the wall ride, one of those big wall rides, and like crashed. He's like, now I'm like coughing blood and I suck here. Like, this is shit. And then now he's stopped here, and like it's pretty funny and turn around,
Yeah.
But so solid result for him as well.
Yeah, it's pretty cool to see because he's had podiums in the past as well. So
yeah,
not only he's top 10 in this race, he's actually has podiumed in the past.
New team for him this year as well.
Yeah,
YT.
Yep. So he's getting comfortable on that.
Yeah. Who's running that? Is this
Martin Whiteley?
Martin Whiteley's team.
Yeah.
Yeah, Martin Whiteley's got a pretty good pick of riders as well. He's got a pretty good eye for who he picks up.
Yeah. He's brought a few talent. He's got a good eye for who he picks up.
No comment.
No comment, no.
Yeah.
No pun intended. But YT. No, good bike. Well, those bikes haven't trained for a while. They must be a pretty good bike. Gwyn had a bit of good success on them. But they've got Trimmer and
first race he won on it, didn't he?
yeah. So they're a pretty solid bike. They haven't changed for a couple of years. Bigger wheels, I guess. A few little tweaks, but pretty same suspension platform to what they've been running for a while.
Yeah. Seems proven. Affordable. Everyone's it's like another go-to safe bet for a reliable, decent bike, isn't it?
Yeah. We had those when we were on Insync. Covered up and decaled over the YT, and no, they were pretty good.
Yeah.
Easy to work on and relatively well thought out, I reckon.
Yeah. So that was two of them qualified in the top 5 there, Trimmer and Norton.
Yeah.
So yeah, obviously went quite good for them. So it'll be cool to see how he goes for the rest of the season. If he can carry, because when he comes a bit smoother and pumping, is he a BMX background?
Yeah. I think BMX and he's done moto as well. Yeah.
So if it gets fast and smooth and
he's
a bit of power, he's going to probably go quite good, I think. But yeah, T-Bolt talked about his run a bit.
Yeah.
We'll just go straight to Troy then. Backing it up, 6 second in qualifying. I was
huge.
Did not really think he was going to do that again, especially as it started to dry out. But yeah, still managed to go back himself with a win.
Riding on a wave of confidence after that big quali win.
Am I right saying this is his second World Cup win?
Third.
So he had his third World Cup.
William and Andorra, has he before?
Yeah.
William and Andorra.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So, but he's finished in top 3 or top 5 for the last how many seasons?
He didn't last year, but prior to that, yeah.
Most consistent rider or something of a long time, isn't he?
Yeah. like if you look on his stats on Roots and Rain, like I don't know it all off the top of my head, but he's like in his history, the amount of time he's out of the top 10 is I think you could almost count it on.
Well, I think
on
in
two
the
hands.
overall, he's top 5 overall for the last 5 years or something.
I think even top 3,
Yeah.
But it's quite cool to see because I feel like it's got to be a bit frustrating for him the amount of times he's qualified first or thereabouts and just puts down a really good race run and it's just not quite enough.
Yeah, especially when it's a different person beating you every week.
Yeah.
If it was the same guy, then yeah, fair enough, that guy's just quicker. But when it's somebody different every week, pipping you by milliseconds, that's almost harder than, I don't know.
Yeah.
To do that is really...
Yeah, it must be hugely frustrating.
Yeah.
I mean, he led the season 2019. He wore the leader jersey most of the season and had it taken off him just at the end there by Bruni, I think, didn't he? So
Yeah. And he didn't win any rounds that year, though, was it? That was just through to consistent results.
Consistency, I think, yeah.
So apart from... but Matt Walker did that last year, won the overall without winning a race, wasn't he?
Yeah.
So it can be done.
It can, yeah.
What do you think of this drone shot as well? This is quite cool.
Yeah,
it's a drone.
Good coverage. I mean, good, like, for us. I think have they had a cable cam here before? Or a motorbike?
They've had a little motorbike, down that
outside,
motorway, but I thought that the drone was pretty cool.
Yeah.
I wonder if they can use something like that similar on any other rounds.
I'd like to see him try and fly it through the trees, that'd be good, eh?
Through the tunnel.
Oh, there's
Real
a gap.
close. Wonder how distracting that is to ride having that buzzing around your head.
Yeah, because it looks pretty low, eh? Like I noticed in one of the ones where they got the other camera that's off the road, and you can see the drone in the shot, and it looked real low.
Yeah.
So.
And they're normally quite loud, the drones.
Yeah.
But yeah, didn't put off Troy. So yeah, Troy came in and he was about, what was it, 1.7 down? We've got the splits there. JT, was he 1.7 down? Was he or something like that?
Troy. Oh, this doesn't have. This just
Result splits are kind of hard to read properly, eh? But
my eyes can't see.
But then as he went down anyway, so he's held it up, and it seems to have been that little stall up that Tebow had.
Where he gained that little bit on him, yeah.
Troy's got it.
But yeah, I think he just kept it moving, didn't he? He was like, again, solid, strong, just rode a smart race, obviously fast, but yeah, clean all the way through there. Don't think he really had any stalls.
No, he's definitely not a type of dude that you see make.
No, he's always like,
many
pretty tidy.
stall-ups.
Yeah, so just a small fella as well. So I guess he manoeuvres himself through there.
Yeah, always had a good style. So yeah, I was stoked to see him take the win. I actually had him on my fantasy team as well, and then took him off because he was too expensive, and I wanted to spread my riders out. So maybe I should have just
always go with your gut feeling.
I should have stuck with it, but I don't know. That's hindsight.
Yeah.
I guess you can always say that. But yeah.
I think probably also old Benoit Coulange.
Oh yeah.
That's his first podium.
Yeah, that's gonna be.
And
a
he
step
sort of
up.
knocked around the top 10 a fair bit in the past. Yeah.
French champ currently.
French national champ. Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's sort of, I've always sort of thought over the years there's always been like a few Frenchies that are pretty low key and not a household name, but are always there or thereabouts, and they have been for years, and can sort of turn it on and actually put in a good result. So I think that's pretty impressive.
So
long legs probably pretty helpful in the trees.
So Leger's going to be quite a dangerous round then for anyone.
Yeah, that's not from France. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it seems like any track at the moment.
Yeah.
It's like that. Reece Wilson as well he had a good result, and again good to see him back up his world champ stripes.
Yeah.
He did win the qualifying after the world champs, and then had that crash.
Race, yeah. Is this his first podium other than winning worlds? Did he podium to World Cup?
He podium Fort William.
40 minutes, right? Yeah.
I don't know if he's had any other ones or not.
Yeah. Again, he's had flares of inspirational riding. Not been the most consistent, maybe.
Yeah.
Like he's had dabbles in the top 10, top 5. He's been up there, but it's good to see him up there and, like you say, backing it up. Can he hold on to it? But
can he get another win?
Is he now riding on that crest of confidence? Proven I am one of those top guys. I can do this, and if he can carry on with that now and keep handing it to them, so
yeah, it would be good to see him get another
a lot
win.
of impressive winter riding on that new bike. So
yeah, I saw he was riding flats a lot on the little edits that came out, but
yeah.
Well, he had
I
them
don't-
at the start of the weekend. I saw a
Yeah.
photo, but
Yeah.
I don't know if he was. I don't think he had them on race run. It
I
didn't
don't think
look
he
like
was
it to
riding
me.
them in the race. He
Yeah.
had those like white, more clip looking
Yeah,
pedals, but
yeah.
Yeah.
Be
Yeah.
interesting to know what the thought is there. I actually went. I did a month on flats this year. Reason being, almost like call it a diet, if you like.
A
You know?
diet.
Well, just to see. So I never had any intention to ride flats full time because I've just rode clips for years. But I just was interested to see
Try
if
something different.
well, if I tried flats for a month, say, if it would help. I don't know. Just see if it would change how I ride and help. I don't know if it did, to be honest.
Perhaps improve your pedaling, maybe. You can think about different things,
Yeah.
like your pushing where you could be pulling, or just,
Yeah.
yeah, it does.
But yeah,
It's
it's
different
interesting.
riding
I
style.
tried it. I don't know. No, maybe it did. I think I might try to do it again this year because it was
That's more
definitely.
fun, aren't they? Much better.
Oh, this is definitely scarier.
Yeah.
Scary.
But actually, I don't have 510s or any grippy shoes, so I was just running my Adidas and.
No, yeah. I
They
think
were
conditions
pretty
like this,
special.
maybe at the start of the weekend, perhaps that's why I had them on for this.
Potentially,
these
yeah.
Wild woods, you
But
tripoding your way through it.
I mean, he nailed the woods. I don't think he didn't drop a foot.
No.
So, I mean, yeah, maybe he doesn't need them, but it is just nice, isn't it? Like you see quite a lot of those guys, especially before that big gap, unclip and then go off it with a foot.
Yeah, not.
A
Yeah.
foot not clipped in,
Yeah,
which is
yeah.
not a good feeling. It's nice with flats. You just chuck it back on and you're away laughing.
But there was the mud sticky and shitty enough that it'd gark up your shoe. You couldn't get back in.
Yeah, well, that's it. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just, I guess, the only time that becomes difficult, is when you end up with one pedal down and one up, and you kind of
Dragon.
try, yeah,
Drag
can't
it through
can't
the
can't
ruck
get your
as well.
balance back,
Yeah.
which is difficult. So definitely feed up is favourable way.
No, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
But yeah, right through them. Talked about stand-up rides. Yeah.
I'm sure
Who's
we've
got-
missed some
who's
stuff,
your-
but I mean,
Yeah.
Your pick for the season then? One rider who's gonna.
You got one in mind?
No.
I think I might. She didn't have the best ride, but I was gonna say no. I'm gonna change. I said for the women, I was gonna say Marine Cabarrou for the overall. I'm gonna say Valley Hall after this one. I don't know. She just looked real good, and I don't know. I think she's probably just maybe gonna have a bit more determination after throwing it away now to maybe just rein it in. That might have been like the,
Sign,
that's the
switch,
thing.
yeah.
That big learning curve there. So if she knows just to keep it rubber side down to the bottom, which is an obvious thing, but just keep your head in the game, right to the finish line. That might be the thing that makes her more dominant, maybe. But yeah, so I think she's going to be my female pick, and then for the overall, would love to see Troy do it. But I don't know. I feel like it's maybe going to be one of the Frenchies.
It's hard to
They
bet
just
against
look.
them, really, isn't it? Yeah. Whereas four.
I
it's
think
been
5 of them in the
five,
top
yeah.
10, I think.
Yeah.
And I mean, Loris, he's lost a fair bit of points as well this weekend, but that's
Yeah,
still
it'd be interesting
recoverable.
But it's short
But
season, though,
it's
isn't it? You said
very
it's only
tough.
5 rounds now.
Yeah.
Well, at the moment, I mean, they could be dropped as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. My gut feeling is that we might see Amori.
Normally back up there. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I'd like to see Troy finally get it. I think he deserves it. But who knows? He's obviously just won, so he's put himself in a good way.
Yeah.
He wouldn't be a silly bet if you said he was going to win the overall, I reckon.
It's
Yeah.
good that there's a good handful of them. I mean, Danny, is all you can't bet against him. Laurie's super confident now.
Yeah, I'd love to see Laurie do it.
Let's see Laurie
I'd
do
love
it.
to
Yeah.
see Laurie get another win. Take an
Yeah,
overall.
Frenchies.
What about you?
Yeah.
It's so hard to say with overall. I reckon next round I'll be picking DePreller and Marine for wins, but overall, really, you kind of, well, it's always a stab in the dark, but to make it probably sort of a more educated guess on form and whatnot, you need a couple of rounds to sort of see that. But I could see Troy doing it actually, to be honest. Like Emery and DePreller are just riding at that level that they're riding at. Mistakes happen. Like you see, DePreller made a mistake today, and obviously it didn't cost him too badly, but
That cost him the race, though.
it cost him the race, but it didn't. It didn't end up in a being a crash. But basically, I kind of feel like with Troy, he's had the speed and he just rides to his speed. So if his speed, which it seems this weekend is the fastest guy there pretty much, if his speed is sort of there or thereabouts, that little bit faster than everyone else for the rest of the season, then I could see him getting there overall for sure, because he's just so consistent, which is key in a short season.
Yeah.
You can't really afford a throwaway race, and I think there's a high chance we'll see that with a lot of those other guys.
Yeah.
And it's such a mental battle as well. Like when you're up there, like if he's got that air of confidence, he'll keep going with it. It could be the form he needs, kick up the arse. Not the form, like he doesn't need to give himself a kick, but just to. I can do that. Here I am now.
Absolutely.
I'm back winning. Yeah.
Yeah. To start a season, he's never started a season with a win, has he? So.
No.
There you go.
Good.
But who's your overall pick? Would you say similar? Or?
The overall, I think Marin Cabarrou for sure. She's seeing her strength and just her riding, and she's quite calculated. I think she's quite smart. I remember when she was battling with Tracy, it was definitely very competitive, and she was just there nipping at the heels all the time. So I think she'll be a good one, consistent. And the men, I'd like to see Loic come back, I think.
Yeah.
The overall again, yeah. He's hungry, and I think he could be the next, like, Foulios or something, maybe, just like overall consistent overalls and world champs, just be real.
Yeah.
Get some good stats behind him and be a consistent figure up there, yeah.
Could be a world champs contender.
Yeah.
I think Laurie Greenland could be the world champs contender this year for me.
Yeah.
Won there last time. But we're getting a bit ahead of ourselves. Maybe we'll have to
it's a long
get
season.
back to that. Yeah, we're at an hour and a half there. Quite a sensible chat, that one.
Yeah.
I think we'll have to...
Great first race. And good mix up of riding and what's going on.
I think that was the best first race I've watched for years. I wasn't disappointed. I'm quite excited actually.
Yeah, it wasn't one guy came down, smoked him, and that was it. It was
very close.
Evolving.
Yeah.
Would you like an opportunity before we wrap up, JT, just to defend yourself on the relentless assault Kurt McDonald had on the polygon the other day?
Oh, the old square one.
Yeah, it seems like he's not a fan.
He just definitely has got a grudge against that bike. He must have had a mare within the workshop the other day, I think, and just taken it out on it. But aesthetically, maybe not the pick of everyone's choice of bike, but there's definitely some technology in there that works. Yeah, it's.
How do you find it to work on? Hard to work on or nah? Not too bad.
Can be frustrating, yeah. I mean, there was a few parts of it which weren't conventional, but I mean, it didn't have any extra linkage or anything to any bike. It was just different.
A few niggly things, but once you're confident with it,
once you got your head around it and
you're
staring at it every day, you get used to it. Yeah, yeah. But no, they're away from that now, and I wouldn't say. I mean, that bike, it won races.
Yeah,
won an overall.
Did Kurt ride at Rampage as well, or was he on the old bike?
I can't remember.
No, I'm not sure.
Yeah, but anyway, it's.
I think he was on the old one, eh?
Yeah. Either way, it's a competitive bike. I'd say it's. Maybe we should put all the World Cup top 5 World Cup riders on one and
see how it goes.
Level playing field, see what they can do.
All right. Well, on that, we'll knock it on the head till next time. We'll get some more. You'll have to get some more gritty stories for us next.
Yeah.
Do some digging
behind the scenes. Yeah.
All right.
Cool.
Cheers, everyone.
Cheers
Monty.